How's it going, guys, and thanks again for visiting my channel, and I hope everybody's doing well. Today I have another brand new release from GVM. This is the GVM 1500D, and it looks like they released one panel after another, which can confuse a lot of people. So in this episode, not only I'm going to be reviewing these panels in depth, as I always do with my gear that I review here, but I'm also going to explain and answer some questions between the differences of all these panels here. So stick around, don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. And a quick disclaimer, GVM has sent me this panel for me to check it out. I don't get paid to say anything here, all my words are my own. This video is not sponsored by GVM, and my YouTube channel needs content, so thank you again GVM for sending me these lights. A couple years ago, GVM has released a panel close to a 2x1 size, which is a 110 watt panel. I think it's the GVM 110S or RS or RGB, something like that. And I haven't seen this panel since, which I also have these panels here. So currently the GVM 1500G, for being a 75 watt panel, is one of the biggest panels GVM has ever made, excluding the 110S. And all these panels that GVM constantly releases one after another, it keeps actually getting people kind of confused because these panels here, they look the same. Actually, they are almost the same. The software is identical. Also, the effects from police light to paparazzi candlelight, they are nearly identical. The only difference is the power and the amount of LEDs these panels come with, and of course the more LEDs, the more money it's gonna cost. So the other type of LEDs that you see in these panels like this here, and again even with other brands, is because again this features a lens type LEDs, and the GVM 880RS, for example, is a 60 watt panel that features a flood type LEDs with those little square diodes, and this one is the round one that has a little lens on the back. So those are the two major differences between all these GVM panels this GVM makes here. Don't forget that they also make COB chip lights with the bonus mount. I'm not talking about those panels, I'm talking about the square little panels here. So it comes with this type of LEDs here, and also the square LEDs, and also how much power these panels have. This one here is 75. The GVM 880RS is 60 watts. The GVM 1000D I think is about 40 or 45 watts. So overall, the difference with all these panels here is power and the amount of LEDs and what type of LEDs are present on the board. That's pretty much it. But also these GVM panels here, they are still budget lights, and you get the best bang for the bucks because these things, they come included with everything, with the lights itself, and also come with the case. So inside the case you're gonna find the 2 power cords, 2 power supplies, the 2 stands, and the actual light stand that comes with the skid here for this light for being a heavier light. The stands is actually being improved, and also I noticed that they're now putting a little protective little bubble wrap in the center column here to avoid scratches during shipping. And one thing that I like about the stands that came with the skid here are the legs, because they open extremely wide, which means they adds more stability for these panels here. You can also use all the panels with the light stands that come with the skid here. One thing that I see a lot of people doing, especially people that are beginners, they're not associated with production or don't know a bunch of things about lighting. So I don't know why they always tend to actually arm the actual light stand in a narrow position with the legs this way here, which means you have zero stability. Anything with the stand here, this thing is gonna fall. So I highly recommend that you always open the stands as wide as possible, unless of course it doesn't fit in a room or on a corner or whatever. Then you have to temporarily keep the stand this way. In this case, as long as there are no kids, no pets, or anybody around to knock the stand, and if nobody touches, it should be okay. But again, I still recommend that you actually fully open the stand as wide as you can go. And the other major difference between these panels here, including other brands as well, is because there are several types of LED boards here. This one here features a standard LED with a lens, which allows the light to be a little bit more spotty, but it still can provide a nice diffusion as long as you actually place some kind of diffusion here, which every single panel like this here with this brand and any other brand always requires some sort of a diffusion here. Another way to actually place this light for the biggest diffusion you can possibly get and allowing the light to become a big light source, put those 2 lights here cranked up to 100% behind a collapsible 5x7 translucent disc. This is the best lighting that you actually can get from these panels here. So you will make a budget panel like this look like a very expensive light because you just created a huge source of light. Keep in mind that you may lose about 25 to probably 50% of the light intensity because again, you're actually putting something in front of the light here. Now if you want to use this light to kind of flood the background like this here or accenting anything, you don't even need to use any diffusers here. You might even want to remove this diffuser here to add that 10-15% more brightness because there will be nothing in front of these LEDs here. Now regarding the barn doors, this is something that I never use on any panels like this here, not only GVM but any other panel. The only thing that I would use here would be a soft box with a grid, which they also make their own soft box from GVM. I don't think they are still available for this light here because this is a brand new panel. panel and is slightly larger than the other ones here. But eventually they're going to release the softbox for these panels and the grid as well. So the best thing to do with these lights here, again, is to place this light besides a 5x7 translucent disc, or actually use this thing with the softbox here. So again, the barn doors is not really my kind of thing, but if you want to use these barn doors here, they're very easy to actually put it on and take it off, because now they have these large screws right here. Usually they came with this little Phillips screws, which requires a Phillips screwdriver. Now all you need is your thumb here, and you don't need to over tighten anything. So what I would recommend you guys to actually uninstall the barn doors here is to flip the slide fully horizontal here, flat like a table, and then you actually screw the screws here until they're nice and tight by hand. Don't need to over tighten anything. And to remove the barn doors is the same exact thing. Keep the light this way here, because gravity will act this way, so nothing's gonna fall or slide out of the panel. Next thing, let's talk about batteries here, because this is a 75-watt panel, and lucky you guys, they didn't make this as a V-mount option here, which makes things more expensive, right? So they still let you add the two Sony MPF 970 batteries here, which is a great thing, because if they put V-mount options here, you're talking about 100, 200, 300 bucks for a battery, right? So still can use the battery here. But keep in mind, for this type of panel here, for being a 75 watt, if you try to use a smaller Sony battery like the 570 or lower, the light is not going to operate properly, because it's not enough voltage or juice for this light. So I was trying to power this thing here with the little battery, because I was already suspecting this would be the case, because I have a degree in electronics, and the slave, the master, all this stuff is going to go pretty wacky here. This light is not going to communicate with the other one, so make sure you use the actual full-size 970 Sony batteries. When you use the barn doors here, when you try to tilt the light, especially with people wearing glasses, you probably have to tilt this light at least 45 degrees, and this is not going to work this way here. So what you have to do is to simply tilt this light horizontal here, because the spigot here accepts vertical or horizontal mounting, and you can actually solve this problem very easy. Another thing to keep in mind here, especially if this is your first GVM panel, keep in mind that when you actually loosen these knobs here, you can actually move the light this way, but as you turn the light forward, for example, it's going to be self-tightening in a way that's going to be extremely tight. So don't do that, because you will probably break the plastic here. So give it a little break here, actually unscrew like probably 2 or 3 turns, and then you can actually fully adjust your light this way here. And when you're ready to get your desired position here, just lock it down. But keep in mind, again, don't keep turning and turning, because these things, they do self-tighten themselves. The GVM 1500D is a 75 watt panel, and has a CRI 97, and it's a 27,000 lux at half a meter away, or 11,000 lux at 1 meter away. And also the color temperature ranges from 3200 to 5600 degrees Kelvin on CCT mode. And the power supply is the same, about DC 15 volts, 15 amps. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world, this is gonna work in India, Brazil, United States, Canada, Japan, because it has 100 volts to 240 volts, and it will change automatically as soon as you plug this thing on the outlet. It doesn't matter what country you are, the thing is going to sense the voltage, it's going to connect to the proper voltage to power the light here. And here's the back of the panel, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows how to run this panel here. So the left button here controls the brightness, and the right knob operates everything else. The left button here controls the brightness. It's from 1% all the way to 100%. And if this battery is not in my way here, you can actually control in one single turn to 100%, as you can see here, literally one turn. The up and down buttons here controls the channel. And on the mode button here, you have your rotate, and then your slave, then master, and then the app. The rotate and the master is pretty much the same. It lets you do everything you want with the back of the panel here. And also the slave, you need to set the other light as master and this one as slave. It's going to be mimicking everything. And the actual master, that's when you control everything that you want on the back of the panel here manually. And to use the app, you got to make sure this thing is set to app. Otherwise, nothing is going to show up on the application. You're not going to see any Bluetooth devices or anything like that. So make sure it is on app mode before you attempt to use this light with the app. Since I'm operating from the back here, here's the actual master. So here again, your brightness and the color temperature. From 3200 to 5600, you press this button real quick. This is your RGB, the full scale to 360. And pressing once again, here's your saturation levels. And again, it goes back to the CCT. Now the next thing here, I don't think it is on the manual, because to access the effects without using the app, simply press and hold this button here. And there you go, you have the effects here. Right now I'm on 03. And to change the effects, simply tap quickly this button here. Then you see it change it to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and back to 1. To exit here, press and hold again. You are out of the effects, it goes back to the CCT mode. Another thing that I absolutely love about this panels here the GVM makes regarding power or brightness control is the ability to go all the way as bright as 100%, but the thing is, how low can you get, how dim can it go, all the way to 1%, because I've seen some portable LED lights, one of those little lights that you've seen around, right? The 1% is actually stupid bright. So let's say they're actually having a scene in a restaurant with a candlelight lighting, and if the lights are too bright with the 1%, it's going to actually screw up your exposure. And this is when you actually need the panel that will absolutely deliver you the dimmest setting at 1%. Let me shut off this light here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here's the actual 1% here. The light off and 1%. My lens is actually f4 at ISO 640. And f4 is a dark lens. Imagine if you're actually shooting with a f2.8 or f1.8, f1.4 or f1.2 or whatever, then this is really important here. So right now the light is at off position, and right now this is the look on my face. You can barely see my face here. So that's 2%, 3%, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the situation here is with f4. If you're shooting with the f1.2, you're probably going to do the 2%. That will look like this here with your lens aperture, right? So I absolutely love this light here. And also notice that the actual fade between the tungsten and the daylight is very smooth. So they improved a lot in these panels here. There's no more jumping or anything like that, even on the RGB settings here. So right now this light is set to master and this one is set to slave. And everything that you do here, the other light is going to respond. As you can see the display actually changing there. And right now I'm at the 4200, so this is going to be tungsten only and daylight only. And you notice that at 4400 is actually when it is coming to the brightness setting, because some lights, they have the ability to actually compensate or dim the other CCT, but this one's here, it is what it is. So the brightness settings here at 4400 degrees Kelvin is going to be the brightest point of this light here. And to access the HSI or RGB, you just press this button real quick, and again, you will do the whole thing. Blue, the magentas, reds, and everything is very smooth, as you can see here. I'm turning very slowly. There's no jumps of any kind. You can also connect more than one light here using the master slave. I think it is a maximum of 12 or 16 lights, somewhere in that neighborhood there. So it doesn't even matter if it is a non-GVM 1500D. Any light from GVM that's actually Bluetooth capable will work with the master slave, except the differences, because if you actually hook up a light that's like 45 watts, such as the GVM 1000D, and this is a 75 watt, you're gonna have a slightly difference in brightness, but they will respond the same exact way. The only difference is these panels are gonna be twice as bright than the 1000D, for example. And I almost forgot to mention here, for this master slave or the app to work simultaneously with the other lights, they have to be sharing the same channel. For example, right now I'm on channel 1 and this light is on channel 1. If I switch the master here, which is on channel 7, all these other lights have to be on channel 7. So right now I'm on channel 1 and channel 1. If you want to temporarily bypass this light here, simply change the channel and the light will no longer respond. Only this light will respond. The other light is not doing anything. You go back to channel 1 and there you go. Both of these lights are going to respond. Same exact thing with the app. If you want to bypass one of these lights on the chain here, simply change the channel temporarily so the light is not going to respond. And then when you want to go back to the transmission here, you just set the same light with the same channels here, and then everything goes back to normal. Not only the CCT or the HSI, even the effects will work. Press and hold, and then they work exactly at the same time. Almost at the same time. There's a slight delay there, like a quarter second or something like that. So the next effect here, for example, the police car, this is actually advantageous for that slight delay, because while this thing is actually blinking in red and the other one is blinking in blue, it's actually oscillating faster because this is actually red and this one is blue already. So that slight delay can actually be an advantage to this here. I guess why don't I go ahead and show you guys the effects. It's only 8 effects. If you don't want to watch this, you can just skip it. It's going to go pretty quick here. So the first one is the actual lightning. And the second one is the police car. Third one is the candlelight. It needs a little tweaking and you cannot adjust the color temperature. Next one is the TV. And the next one is the bed bulb. This one you can actually adjust the color temperature. Daylight or tungsten light. Next one is the party mode, and you can also adjust the timing here. Next one is the disco. And the last one is the paparazzi. and goes back to the lightning. Now next I'm going to be showing you guys how to use the GVM 2 app, which is the Bluetooth application that make both the GVM easily. Those are for the Wi-Fi lights, which are not these ones. The one they wanted to download is the GVM 2. Now let's log in on the application. So the BT LEDs are the Bluetooth lights like this here. There's one little light, GVM light on the front here. I forgot the model, is a small light. So the idea of this light is actually ending in E11A. So I already know that's their light. So this light here, it would end in the 0B6F. Whatever light you buy, it will be a different ID. So I would actually strongly recommend they actually put a little piece of tape here with the last 4 digits of the light. So when you have like 10 of these lights here, you select only one on the app, right? And then you will see which one you're going to decide to actually set this as the master light or the app light here. So just so you know. So I already know the 0B6F is this light right here. So I'm going to connect, and that's it. It connects very quickly. And as you can see, I can actually turn them on, turn them off, change the color temperature here, and also go to the HSI, the whole thing. And these are your effects here, the lightning, the candlelight, the police car, all that stuff. My scenes you can actually get to save the scene as long as you click on the top right, this little diskette little icon here, and then you select the scene that you want. And then when you go back here to whatever number they were previously before, it's gonna recall via the My Scenes. The channels here, this light is set to channel 1. As you can see, they're both responding. Let's go back to the CCT here. They both lights respond. And if you temporarily change the channel, this light here, channel 2 for example, so only this light is going to work here and the other one will not work. Only this one here. So if you set to the same channel, back to channel 1, that's all you gotta do. Now it instantly reconnects again. So there's no need to reboot the light or to make any other modifications here. So as soon as you turn this light on and it sees on the application here, this whole thing is ready to fire. And also on the bottom here, you have your brightness and your saturation levels. And that's pretty much it for the app. Anything in depth is pretty self-explanatory, but so I don't want this video to take forever to show this here. So here's the actual 1500D on my face here without any diffuser, anything other than the little plastic diffuser that came with this light here. So this is how it looks like here, and I have this light slightly tilted because I wear glasses, so without glare, and the light is actually about half a meter away from my face, and it is actually set to 30%. I'm shooting again with the Canon 24-105. So right now I'm shooting with the shutter at 100th of a second. The ISO is actually 400. Right now it's gonna ask me to do f4.5. So again, ISO 400, f4.5, 30 frames per second and 100th of a second shutter, and the light is actually at 28 to 30%. Yes, about 30% as you can see here. Right now I switched to an 85mm lens. The aperture is f1.8, the ISO is 850, and the light is placed half a meter away or about 2.5 feet away from my face here without any diffusion. And this is what you get as far as the looks go without any other additional diffusion and the brightness level. And the light is actually set to 10% if this camera will focus here. And that should do for my review. If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing for more contents like this here, because not only I review products, I mix a bunch of things regarding cinematography and other things that adds enhancement to the actual experience of what you guys seeing here. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them down in the comment section, because I answer to everything that I see there. So once again, thank you very much for watching my videos, and I'll see you next time.